Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parashat Kedoshim, is titled Holiness and Psychology. In this week's parasha, we have the pasuk of Kedoshim to you, where the Bnei Yisrael are commanded to be holy. Now, holiness is quite an abstract term. It's difficult to define, so I'd like to try to understand what exactly is this holiness, how do we achieve it, and what is the psychological significance of this holiness. So first of all, the pasuk says, Kedoshim to you, that you should be holy, because Hashem is holy. If we look at this, it can be understood in two ways perhaps. Either it could be that there's an expectation being placed on the Bnei Yisrael. Just as Hashem is holy, therefore we should also be holy. Almost like a child is expected to behave or have a certain value because that's the way that their parents behave, or that is the value of their parents. But sometimes these are unfair expectations that are placed on a child. So I'd like to say that it could be that rather it's this pasuk of Kedoshim to you is an instruction of how to be holy. That we can see Hashem as a model, and that we can imitate Hashem's ways, we can imitate Hashem's values, and this will therefore bring holiness into our life and will influence us as a person to be able to permeate our life with holiness. So rather than it being a process of expectation, it's a learning process, similar to Albert Bandura's theory of learning of social learning, particularly with children, where they see how their parents behave, they will imitate their parents, and therefore they will copy that and will behave in a similar way. But it's not a process of placing expectations on a child, but rather a learning process. Furthermore, holiness is not a single, distinct term, but rather it can be seen as a cumulative effect. That we see in this week's parasha, there are numerous psukim, numerous mitzvahs that relate to how to bring holiness into our life, such as doing kindness, tzedakah, treating people nicely, thinking about how we relate with our interpersonal relationships, also giving guidelines relating to the intimate relationships that we have in our life. And all this, when we take it together, is giving guideline, giving instruction of how to nurture holiness in our life. What is this holiness? What is the significance of it? So holiness is a life of meaning, a life of purpose, where we live our life consciously and deliberately, that we think and we act deliberately. And this is the heart of mental health, it's the heart of Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, where we try to find meaning in our life, try to find purpose and direction, and also in the humanistic approach, which sees man as being inclined to self-advancement and self-fulfillment. Holiness is the means to do this. Holiness gives us this compass, this direction of how to increase holiness in our life, and therefore how to improve our mental health, because at the heart of mental health, of mental health stability, is being able to find this purpose, finding this meaning and direction in our life. Furthermore, there's the pasuk in this week's parasha of V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, which is suggesting that we need giving instruction of how to treat other people. But first of all, it says kamocha, that we need to first understand who we are, that is giving a message of differentiation. First, we need to have a clear understanding, a clear definition of ourself, a sense of self. And this is also a key component of mental health, of having healthy differentiation from other people. First of all, understanding who we are, what are our values and our qualities. So we can also relate this idea to Kedusha, lahakdish. Lahakdish is when something is designated for a particular purpose. It's set aside for a particular purpose. So this process of Kedusha is also setting aside and differentiating ourselves, understanding what is our particular person, a particular personality, what is our particular purpose in our life. And this is perhaps the message of V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. It's also interesting that there's a research article that's looked at Hashem's holiness and humanity's self-esteem, where it looks at Hashem and the qualities of Hashem and the holiness of Hashem, and how mankind, or how a person is able to partake of this holiness, especially being able to recognize Hashem's presence in this world, and how this influences our lives. And this can increase, the research is looking at how being able to recognize and tapping into the holiness of Hashem can increase our own self-esteem. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.